Now, this is definitely very much a rumor, nothing really to support it, but it's just been floating around. This is an article from comicbookmovie.com, and this is covering the rumors surrounding who will helm the fourth Dune movie, which would be the third story in Frank Herbert's Dune saga, Children of Dune. So this says, Jurassic World Rebirth director Gareth Edwards, rumored to be on Warner Brothers' radar to helm fourth Dune movie. Dune and Dune Part 2 director Denis Villeneuve has stated that he has no intention of helming any more movies in the franchise after his planned Dune Messiah adaptation. But that doesn't mean Warner Brothers will stop after 3. So we've already heard rumors about this that have been floating around, that Warner Brothers is looking to develop not just the fourth Dune movie, but also another Dune TV series, which I guess would be entirely separate from Dune Prophecy, which season 2 is currently in production, or in the early stages of development at least. So it has been around for a little bit as far as this rumor goes in terms of Dune 4 or Children of Dune. But according to known scooper Daniel Rickman, the studio is planning to move forward with at least one more Dune movie, and they might be looking at Gareth Edwards, who's worked on Rogue One, a Star Wars story, and Godzilla, and yes, he's doing the new Jurassic World movie as well. He also did The Creator. The scooper believes that there's interest in Edwards, who also has Jurassic World Rebirth coming out later this year, stepping in to direct, but isn't sure if he's actually in talks. The first 2 movies were big successes, but a 4th chapter would still be somewhat surprising, given the direction Frank Herbert's saga goes in after the 2nd book. Villeneuve has shown little interest in adapting the later novels, Children of Dune and God Emperor of Dune, as he feels the story starts to become too esoteric. We have heard that the filmmaker was rather irked by these potential plans to expand the franchise with or without him. Yeah, that's a rumor that's been going around too, but that seems unfounded because in an article from Deadline, which says, although Villeneuve wants to depart the Dune universe, he doesn't want the franchise to end and wants someone else to take over. And Denis Villeneuve said, quote, "Listen, if Dune Messiah happens, it will have been many years for me on Arrakis, and I would love to do something else. I think that it would be a good idea for me to make sure that in Messiah, there are the seeds in the project if someone wants to do something else afterwards, because they are beautiful books. They are more difficult to adapt. They become more and more esoteric. It's a bit more tricky to adapt, but I'm not closing the door. I will not do it myself, but it could happen with someone else." So he didn't seem like he was irked at all in his comments, at least, unless they had personal information. But considering how tight-lipped he is, I just tend to cast doubt on that, whether or not he was really irked. But all I can go on is what the director has actually said officially, and he did confirm that he was open for it to continue, and he's not going to do anything to get in the way of that. As far as how he plans to finish his Dune Messiah story, it definitely will continue. It will leave the door open for other filmmakers to come in, which makes sense too, because the story of Dune Messiah, a lot of people see it as a kind of epilogue to Dune and a prologue to Children of Dune. It is very much connected to those stories that it's sandwiched between. It's a small book and picks up after all of the universe-changing events of Dune and reestablishing where all the characters are. And that sets up Children of Dune to move on for that. The article continues that Villeneuve said he originally did plan to direct another project before Messiah, but the love from cinephiles around the world convinced him to return sooner. I felt an appetite and desire to see more and a responsibility to finish that story. Production is expected to commence this June. I see so many rumors like this from Daniel Rickman specifically too. He is a well-known scooper, but oftentimes nothing really manifests from these rumors. He may have heard something, but that doesn't really mean anything as far as how this will progress. Dune Messiah still has to be made, and I think it would be sensible to see how that goes before any further continuation of the franchise is considered. And oftentimes, a lot of these rumors, it's literally a rumor mill. We might hear several rumors of directors being considered. There's no real obligation or accountability if these rumors turn out to be unfounded because, well, it was a rumor, so we'll see. But regardless, how do we feel about Gareth Edwards directing a possible Children of Dune adaptation? Personally, his movies are visually impressive. The creator, the writing was not good. The world building wasn't there either, which was very disappointing because it had so much potential. And visually was stunning. And also Greg Fraser worked with him on that. So if Greg Fraser winds up returning for the fourth movie here in Children of Dune, they would also continue a collaboration together. And that probably would make the most sense if Gareth Edwards would want to have him on board, because he would already have that experience, especially if they're going to continue on with Villeneuve's established aesthetic. But he's definitely a competent director. But the most important thing is the story. That's kind of hit and miss when it comes to his movies. Visually, they look great. Even Jurassic World Rebirth looks good. Of course, just having seen trailer footage. But as far as the writing goes, just from the trailer footage, it does look like it's a very simple and filled with tropes storyline. As far as his other works that have been out, he definitely has the experience working on these productions of such a grand scale, but the writing, again, has been mixed for me. Those early Godzilla movies, as far as this latest era for the Hollywood version of Godzilla, those early ones are really good. So yes, Gareth Edwards definitely has the competence, he has the experience for these grand scale productions, especially those that are specifically with well-known IPs, with Star Wars, Godzilla, now Jurassic World, and it does make sense on paper for Dune as well. I think just the most important thing for me would be the writing team, and if you can adapt the story well. I think the film definitely will look good, and I do think that he has that prowess as a sci-fi filmmaker to carry it out, but the writing at the end of the day is the most important to me. So who's your writing team? I doubt that John Space would be on board without Denis Villeneuve. They'll probably go another route. Obviously, my ideal pick would be Eric Roth, whose contributions to Dune I was missing in Dune Part 2, so that's my thought. Who's the screenwriter? Yeah, if you get a great cinematographer, if Greg Fraser doesn't have anything going on, that would be great, considering the two have already worked together. But who's your screenplay writer? And that's the thing, too, with the famous IPs that he's been a part of. Obviously, the studio is very much involved in these franchises, specifically with his Star Wars experience. He didn't even finish. Tony Gilroy had to come in because there was creative differences behind the set. So he's already had that experience working with the studios that have a very specific vision. Sometimes it doesn't work out. But then when you think about the creator, that was such a shame too, because it looked amazing. And all of the posters that I saw for it, I love the imagery. It was so simple and yet profound. It said so much. It looked so unusual. It looked so real and was filmed for a very small budget when you consider how great it looked. So he also has experience pulling off a production that looks amazing with a smaller budget. So he knows how to do that with half of what Denis Villeneuve got for Dune. So that's impressive, because I feel like that's a huge battle already, to really have the experience to know what every department does, is involved in all of that, and can direct everything well on a grand scale, even with a smaller budget, still make it look like a blockbuster like all these others. So I applaud his efforts there. But yeah, the writing, unfortunately, was not up to par with the visuals. And the thing is, too, some people might think or have the impression that this is milking the franchise to death if there was a fourth Dune movie. But the fact of the matter is, it's part of the one story that the author himself established. The real trilogy is Dune, Dune Messiah, and Children of Dune. The author always saw the trilogy of stories as one story. So the source material itself in Dune Messiah lends itself to further expansion because that's how the author wrote it. I do think that, especially with how the ending of Dune Messiah is set up, it definitely will leave audiences wanting more, because that was the author's intent. That was how that was supposed to go. In Children of Dune, we have most of the returning characters. So these are still the same characters. This is still the same time frame of the previous two entries. So this just makes sense, not only from a commercial standpoint, but creatively as well. And this is the completion of that arc, the author's vision. So that would be exciting if it were to continue. It would be a huge missed opportunity if they didn't fill out the rest of that arc. And this is still so far from development. We're still on the cusp of Dune Messiah being filmed. We've got several years before we hear anything significant in regards to future adaptations of the Dune saga. So it's hard for me to put stock into this particular rumor at this time because it's very much unsubstantiated and it could just be something heard in passing. And yeah, he may be eyed, but that may just be temporary. And he's just now brought on board with the Jurassic World franchise, and I'm sure they're going to do more movies there. So maybe he'll continue on with that, and that would be his priority moving forward. Yeah, I think it's just a lot of stuff in the air right now, but interesting to think about. Ultimately, the fourth movie in the Dune saga, Children of Dune, needs more than just an experienced director. You need to have excellence in the writing and adapting such a dense, complex source material for the big screen. Nowadays, it's become more and more common for filmmakers pulling double duty, handling both the writing and directing. Denis Villeneuve has done that for Dune, and other acclaimed directors do that too. But I don't think that approach is right for everybody, and especially when it comes to adapting such a great literary work like Dune. And given the track record for Gareth Edwards, I personally wouldn't want him to handle both. So my hope is that if Edwards does end up taking the helm for Children of Dune, that he assembles an incredible writing team that can do Frank Herbert's work justice, and that would be an excellent accompaniment to his stunning visuals. But I'm curious to know what you think about the rumor of Gareth Edwards directing a fourth Dune film and adapting Children of Dune. Do you think he'll be able to effectively take over the reins from Denis Villeneuve? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, and be sure to subscribe for more Dune and other sci-fi and fantasy news, theories, and lore. And if you're looking for other ways to support the channel, you can leave a super thanks or join as a YouTube member for early access to new videos and other perks. Or you can check out my Patreon page for exclusive content. Thank you all so much for your support, and as always, have a very nerdy day.